Living with the anguish of losing someone you love can be disorienting, overwhelming, and feel very lonely. We went on the local scene to Hope Floats Healing and Wellness Center, an organization that serves to bring comfort, peace, and coping skills to those who are grieving. Come on in.
Ken and Denise Brack co-founded Hope Floats in 2008. They lost their son Michael in 2002 tragically, and they realized that there was such a great need for support in the community for such intense loss. So they set out to find a serene place, welcoming families who are coping with grief to come and find some healing. I found Hope Floats myself in 2015 after experiencing a stillbirth. I lost my third child, Maggie, and I was really struggling. And I just happened to look up the first therapist in the area, and it was Rita Burpee. And she was wonderful, and she supported me and then encouraged me to co-facilitate a pregnancy, infant, and toddler loss support group here. So I was a volunteer for a while and then joined the board of directors and then was offered the job as the managing director in 2022, and it's just been wonderful working with all of these families.
I first heard of Hope Floats back in 2016 after two very close friends were impacted by loss. So what they said was that Hope Floats was like a lifeline for them as they started navigating their grief journey. They had participated in the pregnancy, infant, toddler loss group. And from that friendship, I was actually able to meet Denise and start volunteering with Mike's Club, which is our children and family program. And then I've been so grateful to be able to grow here in different roles as the agency has grown.
My story, I guess, could start when I was 4 months old. My father died, and my mother was left with 4 children. Fast forward 43 years, and my husband passed away from prostate cancer. He fought for 6 years. It was a great battle, but I ended up losing him, and I had a 9.5-year-old to raise. Hope Floats came along, and it was the best thing ever. Love it here. I love everything we do here. My son even grew here. Like, he was like, yeah, these kids all have someone that died, and I'm not alone, and this is the only place where kids can feel not alone. Because in school, not everyone has a parent that died.
We have such a wide range of programs. We have adult support groups that are free, ranging from overdose loss, child loss, suicide loss support, parent loss for adults, sibling loss for adults. We have a program for kids ages 5 to 18 who have lost a parent, a caregiver, or a sibling. In addition to that, we have holistic retreats where we welcome people, sometimes, people who have cancer. We have a Bereaved Mother's Day retreat coming up in May, and it's the Friday before Mother's Day, so we hope to pamper some of the bereaved moms in the community before going into a really tough weekend.
Mike's Club is our biggest program. That's our children and family bereavement program. Currently, we have 85 families enrolled, and that's 159 kiddos that we're able to support and 73 adults that are participating in the program. So we meet every other week throughout the school year. It's an entirely free program that families can just call and register for and sign up for. And what we do is we do a lot of creative, art-based and music-based activities with the kiddos because it can be hard. It's such a heavy subject to tackle, especially with kids. So we try to be really creative and make it as fun as possible to give them an outlet to talk about their feelings. A majority of the kiddos who participate in Mike's Club have experienced the death of a parent, but we also have kiddos who have experienced the death of a sibling, or it could even be an immediate family member who was living in the house with them, like a grandparent who they saw every day.
We do our family nights every month. Again, that is for the children and families that have experienced a loss, and we do the group crafts. And this year we actually did a really big one for March. So we turned Hope Floats into Hogwarts, and we did a lot of activities around Harry Potter. A lot of the kids didn't realize how much grief is actually in Harry Potter, so we took the crafts and made Bogart so the kids could write memories inside of ornaments and fill them with glitter and feathers. All of our volunteers dressed up like Harry Potter characters. We made all of the rooms look like Hogwarts, and we had the Mass Audubon Society come out with a live owl and a turtle and talked about resilience, and it was so cool. So we're hoping to do that a few more times this year. We have our camp program coming back up again for July, and then we have our now annual golf tournament that we started last year. It was a huge success, and this year we're hoping to make it even bigger. September, we're going to be doing our annual memory walk, and that's when families come together. We usually have about 400 to 500 people who come to walk. They make t-shirts for their loved ones, and it's just a beautiful day to have a lot of people in our community come together and remember their loved ones. It's important to have support when you're grieving because so many people run away from it or don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. You really need people who understand what it's like to be front row at a funeral, is what I usually say. Your life is completely altered, you feel alone, and nobody truly understands what you're going through. So to be able to come to a space where you walk in as strangers and you open up and you become vulnerable and you make connection through that vulnerability, you have people meet you where you are instead of comparing you to who you once were. And it's just beautiful and so needed. And we see some friendships that form that, you know, they may have lost some friends along the way or family members along the way that weren't supportive. And here they are with these new friends that they're meeting after the loss. And the connection is so strong and just so beautiful. And it's just a wonderful thing. It's just so needed.
I always like to tell people, you know, it does suck. Yes, it does. And you're okay. You can say that. But also that it's okay not to be okay. When I first heard that after my husband died, I was like, you're right, it is okay not to be okay. I don't have to pretend I'm happy all the time, although that's what we do, because it's easier than saying, oh, my life is miserable right now and this happened and that happened. But just to be able to not be okay and take one day at a time, as cliche as that is. Mourning is so forefront in the beginning, and then just like the tides, it ebbs and flows, but as years go on, you learn to live. You live for the living. That was one of the best advice when my mom died. My friend said to me, you gotta remember you have a husband who's sick, you have a child, you live for the living.
I like to talk to people and just kind of listen to them as they talk about how grief can really turn their entire world upside down. And so what I like to really focus on at first is promoting some sort of a daily routine to make the day feel a little bit more predictable. I'll encourage just focusing on getting out of bed in the morning, taking showers, eating healthy meals. Getting outside can be so incredibly therapeutic. So I like to talk to people about that. We also focus a lot on not putting so much pressure on yourself. Research has shown that within the first couple of months, a lot of support for folks who are coping with grief and loss actually pulls back. And there can be a lot of pressure from society to just move on, feel better very quickly. And so to be able to be present with people as they share how debilitating grief can be, I think is tremendously supportive. So I encourage them to be around people who they find supportive and understanding of their grief.
I think that when you lose someone extremely close to you or someone that you love, you become a more gentle person and you see things differently. You know what is important and what isn't, and you learn to let go of the little things. I always try to live for Maggie now, and so it's like my bucket list isn't just my bucket list anymore. It's things that I want to bring her to and have her experience, and so I'm living for her. And if you can do that, then you can find that light again, and if you could find your people that you could share it with, it just makes it that much better.
Hope Floats is an extremely special place. Even just walking the grounds, I feel like people will come in for a first appointment or to join a group for the first time and they'll say, I feel like I'm getting a big hug. And I have heard so many people say that.
I think people feel safe here. I think they feel seen, they feel heard. And it's exactly what you need when you're going through it. You need to be seen, you need to feel safe, and you need to be heard.
Everyone's always willing to help. And, you know, if there's a crisis, who's there? Hope Floats. Hope Floats is there, not only for this small community, but for all the surrounding communities. And I always tell people, that's one of the things I do tell people, call Hope Floats. They're gonna help you.
If you enjoyed this video by The Local Scene, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching.